All right, folks, check this out. Donald Trump just had a full-blown meltdown when he was confronted to his face by a number of journalists for his lies surrounding the tragic shooting in Washington, D.C. yesterday of two National Guard members, one of which has sadly passed away. He was asked about the fact that the perpetrator was heavily vetted under Joe Biden, despite him saying otherwise. He didn't like that question one bit. He called the journalist a stupid person. He was asked about the fact that his administration granted the perpetrator asylum in April of this year as well. He did not like that question either. So we're going to listen to a couple of these clips, hear what Trump had to say in response to some of these questions. Before I do any of that, make sure to subscribe down below, drop a like on the video, comment. It all goes such an incredibly long way. Happy Thanksgiving. I am so incredibly thankful for you folks at home for your support and for the fight you're putting up against the Trump administration. But without further ado, let's start here, where Donald Trump was asked, your DOJ just reported that there was thorough vetting of Afghans who were brought into the U.S., so why do you blame Biden? A very fair question, and Donald Trump just flipped, saying, are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? The whole 9 yards. So let's just take a listen.
A question about this tragic shooting in Washington, D.C. U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens, too. It happens too often with these people. You see them. But look, this is how they come in. This is how they're standing on top of each other. And that's an airplane. There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out. But they go cuckoo. Something happens to them.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration for what this man did?
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked, there were many of them, and they came in on big planes, and it was disgraceful. And if you look, you'll see there was a law passed. It makes it almost impossible not to let him in.
All right, so he's just rambling incoherently, as Donald Trump does. I think you'll see a consistent theme in this clip, in these clips that we're about to watch, which is Trump's decline is on full display. I mean, it's later in the evening, it's 7 o'clock in Florida when he had this press conference. You know, it's his bedtime practically at that hour, so he's slurring his words. He's kind of doing the weave, as he calls it, which is just rambling incoherently. And that was another example of him just making up laws that were passed or saying that people were stuffed on airplanes and they weren't vetted. This reporter, number one, is incredibly brave for doing this. I mean, Donald Trump called her stupid, which means she's doing something good. So shout out to that reporter who's asking the right questions. But, you know, Donald Trump's own Department of Justice reported that they were thoroughly vetted. So regardless of the plane situation, which of course was messy, you're trying to get everybody out at once, everybody was vetted. They didn't come into the United States. They weren't allowed to stay here, granted visas, or anything like that if they weren't vetted. And Donald Trump's own Department of Justice acknowledged that, and he simply can't because he's, you know, obviously out of the loop. He's a liar, a pathological liar. And that brings us to the next video where Donald Trump was asked what Somalians have to do with the shooting, because yesterday we covered on this channel his speech regarding the shooting. He blamed Somalians in Minnesota, for example. This is another example of the mental decline, but he blamed Somalians and he was asked what they have to do with the shooting, and just take a look at what he had to say.
What does Somalians have to do with this Afghan guy who shot the National Guard?
Nothing, but Somalians have caused a lot of trouble. They're ripping us off for a lot of money. There's a tremendous amount of money going back to Somalia. What the hell are we paying money to Somalia for? But they're ripping off our country at a level that few people have been able to see before. That's about the only thing. You talk about competence. We have Ilhan Omar.
Okay. I mean, like, this guy is absolutely insane. Now he's talking about a Democratic member of Congress. The way he speaks to these journalists, the way he speaks about other people, I know we've known this forever. I mean, Donald Trump has always been a piece of shit. But it's just so disrespectful. It's so gross the way he was calling that woman a stupid person, and he blames Somalians for the shooting, and then even he himself acknowledges that they have nothing to do with it. He just wants to attack a group of people. Every single time tragedy strikes the United States or something goes wrong, it's almost like he just puts a group of minorities in a hat and just pulls one out and see which one he wants to blame for it. It's so disgusting what this guy is constantly doing. Now, here's when Donald Trump was confronted about the fact that his administration granted this perpetrator asylum under his term. And, of course, didn't like the answer, had a tirade as well. Take a listen.
Very much, everybody. Go ahead.
Afghans, do you believe that
about this asylum claim that is being floated? Of course, you just detailed that this suspect was flown in under the Biden administration.
Yeah.
But was he granted asylum under your administration?
When it comes to asylum, when they're flown in, it's very hard to get them out. No matter how you want to do it, it's very hard to get them out. But we're going to be getting them all out now. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. So it's really hard to get them out, but now you're going to be getting them out. First of all, getting all people with a background in Afghanistan out of the United States is wrong in so many different ways, wrong on so many different fronts, a discriminatory front, a conduct front of the President of the United States behaving in this way. It's also probably illegal, going to get challenged in court. But, blaming an entire group of people for one bad person doing one bad thing is almost definitionally racism or discrimination, at least. But this whole, not answering the question regarding asylum is so typical Trump, right? He's confronted with, again, a very valid question. He's trying to point the fingers at Democrats for this tragedy and trying to blame anybody but him or anybody but the Republicans. And when he's asked a question about, hey, so your administration actually allowed him to stay, he completely folds. Let's go on to the next clip where Donald Trump was asked if he plans on attending the funeral of the service member who lost their life in the shooting. And this is what he said.
It's in the early stages, obviously, but do you plan to attend Sarah's funeral?
I haven't thought about it yet, but it certainly is something I could conceive of. I love West Virginia. I won West Virginia by one of the biggest margins of any president anywhere. And it's, these are great people. I love the people of West Virginia. I love the people of our country. But I haven't given it any thought, but it sounds like something I could do, yeah.
Sounds like something I could do. Regardless of the answer of like, oh, I could conceive doing this, which is just such a weird way to talk about the funeral of a service member. He, instead of talking about the service member and, thanking her family for her service, thanking her for her service, Donald Trump starts talking about an election victory, which again is so typical Trump, right? He always has to bring it back to something about him, complimenting himself, his victory in 2024. He just can't go 5 seconds without making it about himself. He is as I've always said, a child stuck in an unfortunate grown man's body. I mean, he's incredibly difficult to look at, but that's just who he is. He's a child. He has to make it about himself. And I do want to hit home on this point, which is I think these answers where he's rambling incoherently kind of further speak to the cognitive decline. There was just this New York Times article the other day that spoke to a lot of this, saying shorter days, signs of fatigue, Trump faces realities of aging in office. And they detailed how in 2017, the first year of Trump's term, his scheduled events started at 10:31 a.m. on average. But him in his second term, he has started scheduled events in the afternoon on average at 12:08 p.m. So he's starting his days later. And the number of Trump's total official appearances has decreased by 40% when you're looking at the same time frame in 2017 from January 20th to November 25th. He had 1,688 public events. In comparison to now, he's only had 1,029 public events. And of course, at many of these events, he's either falling asleep or not talking to reporters at all. Or if he does, it just sounds like complete incoherence. And so when we're listening to Donald Trump blame Somalians for the shooting, rant about his victory in 2024, attack reporters, I think that speaks to his mental decline. And I think we're seeing right now why a lot of his events don't happen late at night, why he starts his days later, why he's not making as many public appearances. I think we just kind of saw it on display. So despite the disgusting answers, despite the attack of journalists and people generally, seems like Donald Trump is again off his rocker, but we know that by now. So look, I will leave the video there. I just had to cover Donald Trump's little meltdown that he had at this journalist and the others who were asking him valid questions. But thank you so much for being here. I really, really hope you had an amazing Thanksgiving. If you spent it with family, I hope it went well. And if you discuss politics, I know you beat your crazy MAGA uncle or whoever it is in your family at the dinner table. And if you didn't spend it with family today, I'm thinking of you. I appreciate you. And thank you to all for watching. Make sure to subscribe down below, drop a like on the video, video, comment, let me know what you think about this story. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.